Especially for us.
Very good, and of course John Siddiq is going to speak after me, but in the Chandigarh realm, I'm the last one. So, especially after three poets, and I'm speaking about a book which is very light, very comical, very different. With maids ate on the table, and guess who eat from the boxes later. I was one of them. Anyway, that's fine. So what happens with these middles is that they give you, they try to give you an insight into society, and if you read them in the morning, I think your day starts on a cheerful note. The thing about middles is that one of the papers I write for, after reading those middles, all the retired people call me up. And another paper I write for, which is published from Delhi, none of the retired people call me up. All the professionals who are working, they call me up after that. So I analyzed that different middles should be meant for different people and different papers. So I started distributing them subject-wise into one or the other. So you become a very experienced middle writer after a while, and then you realize that what you're doing is writing 500 to 600 words, or 700 at the most, 650. You don't really get satisfaction out of it. So it just comes and goes and you're done with it. So if you want a long-term relationship with the world of writing, it's good to venture into a book. And my book is not a very big one. It's 160 pages, 42,000 words, but it's much longer than a middle. So I decided to write on Bunny Kapoor, a young guy who is a young Indian boy. And why I'm writing about him is because I can identify with this young Indian guy. I could not write a fictional tale about a Chinese old woman because I can't identify with her, I can't think like her, I don't know what she thinks, but I know what a young Indian male thinks. I know what he wants, I know what he's deciding to do, and what is his life about. And therefore I could write this. And to make you understand what I'm talking about, because many people ask me, is this book about you? Is there reality? Is it fiction? So I say, no, it's fiction. But a writer cannot distance himself from his subject, especially a new writer. And John will probably give us more gyan into this later. But the thing is that if you're writing a book which is a fictional tale, there are bound to be elements of your own life or experiences in it, and that's what happened. Just like a middle I wrote called All Sorts of Walkers. So I used to go for a walk in the park. Nowadays I play tennis, so maybe I should be doing the reverse. I should have been playing tennis then and walking now. But when I go for a walk in the park, I find these different kinds of people. And one couple would not talk to each other for months. I saw them. 6:30 in the morning, I wonder who he's talking to. Maybe his girlfriend somewhere abroad, in Asia, maybe Singapore, where she's wide awake. So he's talking on the mobile at 6:30 in the morning and walking around the park. And that is where my reality stepped into fiction in the middle. So in my middle, I'm writing about all these people, and this guy was actually on the mobile. But then for a bit of fun, I put it in the middle that this guy was talking so, and that was obviously a bit of imagination. So imagination and reality, they have to somewhere coexist, and somewhere they drift into each other. Now, Move On Bunny is a book about Bunny Kapoor, as I said, a young man of 25, published by Prakash Books. And the good thing about Prakash Books is that they're very good distributors, and my book is available in every nook and corner of the country. I'm happy to tell you that what really gave me a high was one of my aunties told me that she found this book at the Haridwar railway station. So I said, if I'm there, then I've made it already. And also, I'm working in Colaba, and I've already been to the big stores like Landmark, where my book is available, I know. But I just happened to chance upon a small bookstore, and I find that it's small, and Colaba has these little booths at the end. So I go inside and just wonder, no chance of finding my book here. So there are 4 copies lying there, 4 copies of Move On Bunny. I said, now I've made it. But I still have a long way to go, I haven't really made it. And I would like to read out one passage from, So Bunny Kapoor is trying to get a job in a bank, and this passage is called Banking on Bunny. So Bunny was completely unsure of himself in the banking world and had thus appeared for the interview with considerable trepidation. The lady in the chair was intimidating but also attractive. She glared at him over her glasses. "Mr. Kapoor, you know nothing about banking. Why have you applied for this job?" she demanded of him. "Ma'am," he blurted out, worried that the interview might soon be over, "I know a thing or two about coaxing people into listening to me, and I'm sure I can be a successful marketing person. Why don't you try me out? I'm certain that I can open a large number of accounts for you within a week." Bunny realized as he uttered these words that he'd bitten off more than he could chew. He knew nothing about opening accounts. The intimidating lady gave him another glare. He was seeing visions of her calling in the security to throw him out, when her face transformed itself into a smiling one. "She's looking quite resplendent now," thought Bunny, her green sari suiting her well. "I'm not the sort to fall for such tactics, Mr. Kapoor. I've seen many impostors in my time. And while I'm not saying that you are one, I'm not convinced by your bravado. However," she paused at this point and smiled even more broadly at him. Her teeth were very white and perfectly formed, noticed Bunny, except one which was yellowish. It is no secret that in the history of the word "however" has been used millions of times. However, it has never carried as much hope for any human being as it did for Bunny Kapoor at that moment. He looked at her mouth carefully, waiting breathlessly for some good news to emanate from it. After what seemed like an eternity, she finally resumed speaking. "There's a spark in your eye that I like. I am therefore willing to give you 15 days to open 15 accounts. If you do so, you're hired." Bunny looked at her open-mouthed and decided to search in his mirror later for the mysterious spark in his eye that seemed to impress the female folk so much. "Done, ma'am, I shall give it my all, and I assure you that I won't let you down." Bunny smiled back at her and accepted her offer enthusiastically. He got up and shook hands with her. She looked at him in the room. By the time Bunny nodded, she was already halfway down the corridor. He was even more impressed. Quite a woman. He had no time to lose. That was an opening passage from Banking on Bunny. So Bunny goes on to get the job, and the problem is that he's only able to open female accounts. And he's trying desperately to open the male bank account, but he's not able. So he becomes a champion of female accounts.
एक वो होता है जिसमें लिखने वाला चपत तो अपनी गाल पे लगाता है, लेकिन निशान पूरे समाज के बदन पे लगता है। तो इस मामले में वो समाज की एक तरह से मिडल लिखने वाले समाज सुधारक भी हैं कहीं ना कहीं। वो चाहते हैं कि दुनिया में से जो कलुष है वो हंसते हंसते ही हटा दे, सबके चेहरों से नकाब, ऐसा लगता है शहर में सरफिरा कोई नहीं। आज हमारे पास एक सरफिरा भी है। तो दोस्तों, सच बात तो ये है कि वाकई प्रोज लिखना और इस तरह की प्रोज लिखना जो समाज में जिस तरह के माहौल चल रहे हैं बड़े लाइटर रेंज में, बड़ी कड़वी सच्चाई ये बताते हैं शुगर कोटेड। दूसरी एक बात ये है कि एक अच्छी बात ये रही जो इनका प्रकाशक है प्रकाश बुक, वो एक इस तरह का डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर है जिसने व्हीलर जितने भी, आप हरिद्वार की बात करें, आप डेराबसी के रेलवे स्टेशन पे जाएंगे वहाँ भी मिले उसने पूरे व्हीलर।
John is a poet. He's a wonderful poet, and he's a best-selling author of Full Blood, which has come out only last year, and the book has been was on the top of the poetry charts in Amazon, which is a very big thing, I guess. And the one Thomas Transformer, who won the Nobel Prize, was on number 2. His book was, number 1 on that list, and he has written 4 collections of poetry in the last 15 years. Yeah, 4 collections of poetry, and for the prize he was nominated for the Forward Prize also for his collection, The Prize, and he has
too crazy. I get lots of, so I'm going to stand up, and also I just like to sort of occupy the space that I'm in. poets don't get much space, so we have to take it, don't we? So yes, this is Full Blood. This is my most recent book, and it was actually written in secret in a way, in secret from myself, because I wrote all my other books. Well, I had to learn how to write this one. I guess that it's almost like the books teach you how to write them, and this one took the longest time. I'm not going to say much about it. I will just read to you a few things, and then we can have a chat. That's probably a nicer way. This is a poem. This is a piece called Thirst. I was asked. I don't know if you know, in the UK we have a very strange institution called the House of Lords, where they send kind of old politicians to die, and. One of the lords is actually a lady. I don't know why they call her a lord, but she's a lady. She's a baroness. Asked me if I would think about the subject of freedom. She works a lot with young people. And one thing I enjoy most about being a writer is that we have very simple equipment. We have 6 questions that we meet the world with. Journalists have 5 questions, but poets and authors have 6 questions. So journalists have got who, what, why, where, and when, and we've got what if, you see, as well. And it occurred to me that when you watch the news, when you read a newspaper, people do not ask the most basic questions. Politicians especially do not ask basic questions. So we think we know what peace is. We think peace is the absence of war, and yet nobody does anything to promote peace. But everybody thinks by having lots of war we can have peace. Idiots. Freedom is the same. We think if we do enough of the wrong thing, then we'll get some of the right thing. What we never actually do is try to actually understand what freedom is. Imagine thirst without knowing water. And you ask me what freedom means. Imagine love without love. Some things are unthinkable until one day the unthinkable is here. Imagine thirst without knowing water. Some things we assume just are as they are. No action is taken to make or sustain them. Imagine love without love. It is fear that eats the heart. Fear and endless talk and not risking a step. Imagine thirst without knowing water. Fold away your beautiful thoughts. Talk away curiosity. Chatter away truth. Imagine love without love. Imagine believing in the whispers, the screams and the gossip. Dancing to a tune with no song to sing inside you. Imagine love without love. This is this is a poem about marriage, but there are all sorts of marriages. By marriage, I don't mean husband and wife necessarily. It does mean that, but one of my favourite poets is a poet called Walt Whitman,